Hey everybody, Ian here. So happy February 10th. Welcome to day 10 of the romcom review session. Before I get any further into this video, just remember to like and share this video and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Those all help me out a lot. But so anyway, let's just get into the rom-com. The movie I watched today was Love, Simon from 2015 or 2018, excuse me. And this was my feeling on it was a very cute movie. It was very good. It had been kind of I remember when it came out, and I wanted to see it when it came out, and I just never did. But I remember it being very hyped up, and a lot of people were talking about it, a lot of people saw it, and a lot of people my age, in college, they were saying like, oh my gosh, it's so good, and you have to see it. It's amazing. And it was good. It was solid. I think it had been somewhat overhyped. Excuse me. So it didn't quite meet these, fantastical expectations, but it was in no way a disappointment. It was very cute. It was very sweet. It was heartfelt. It was funny. The cast was good. I felt like all of the cast members, even the characters I didn't like, I felt like they all had good chemistry together. But yeah, it was good. It was solid. I'll go to the individual facets of my rating. As for the writing specifically, I thought it was good. I thought it was relatable. I thought it was good at whoever wrote it. I should look at who wrote it. I should start doing that for these movies. They did a good job of writing believable young people. I feel like sometimes young people in media are like not. It's like very clear that like a 40-year-old will have written this. It didn't feel like this. It felt like it was listening and watching real high schoolers, and even though I was saying recently I'm bored of high school movies, this was very sweet, and it was aided in the fact that it was good. Sometimes though the writing could be a little flat or a little not quite one-dimensional but less than three-dimensional. And that there were just a couple instances throughout where a character would say something or they'd be having a conversation that was just kind of, could have used a little more development. But like I said, those were really kind of peppered throughout. That was not a common theme throughout the movie. I didn't find myself thinking that, probably not even more than 5 times. As for the acting, it was good. The cast was, it's starring Nick Robinson. He's the guy who played Simon. If you saw Jurassic World from 2015, I think that's why I said 2015 earlier. If you saw Jurassic World from 2015, he was the older kid in that. There's 2 kids, like 2 brothers, and he was the older brother in that. That's what I know him from. When Love, Simon came out, I was like, oh, it's that Jurassic World kid. Sorry. But it has Jennifer Garner in it, and she was just in 13 going on 30, which I watched and just loved yesterday. And Josh Duhamel is in it. He was in a couple, or at least one of the movies I watched lately. He was in New Year's Eve. And also Katherine Langford. You might not know her name, but if you saw 13 Reasons Why, she was the main girl, whose name I already forgot. Hannah Baker. And I felt like there was one other person. Tony Hale was in this. If you've seen Arrested Development, he is Buster. And if you've seen Veep, but not Arrested Development, he is, I can't remember his character's name, but he's the assistant of Julia Louis-Dreyfuss's character. He's her, like, right-hand man. But he was good in it, even though I hated his character. He was extremely annoying. He was this principal that was trying way too hard to be like relatable, and to the point where it was like uncomfortable for the kids. It wasn't bad writing that was like, it was good writing. Like they did a good job of making like a cringe character. So I didn't like him because it was really like uncomfortable to watch him. And the directing, it seemed solid. I was trying to pay attention for these kind of, these telling shots, and I felt like there was 1 or 2, but they weren't necessarily telling, but they were interestingly framed, and so I do notice those when I do. I can't guarantee that I'm noticing all of them all the time. But for the most part, it seemed pretty standard. I should really get like a book of like directing for dummies or something like that, just so I can have more to talk about as in terms of the directing. I just realized my air conditioner is on. I don't even know why I turned it on earlier, because it's cool outside and my you can only turn it off with a remote, which is somewhere else, but it's blowing directly onto my setup. So if there's like a background noise, that's what that is. I was just noticing because my legs felt cold. I was like, what? Am I dying or something? How am I doing? Okay. Oh, wow, this is going fast. The music was good. It was fun. It didn't seem like there was a score of like, an original score of like music written for the movie, but they had a soundtrack and it was fun. Like they played "I Want to Dance with Somebody" by Whitney Houston at one point, and that stood out to me only just because that had been a song they played for a while in 13 Going on 30, and I was like, oh my god, I just heard this song. Just saw Jennifer Garner, recently saw Josh Duhamel. But it was fun, and they had some music by different bands. They had something by the 1975. They had something by oh no, I forget what, but it was good, and it was fun, and I felt like it did a good job of, thing I like about those 90s movies, like 10 Things I Hate About You. I felt like it did a good job of capturing the music of the 90s, and I feel like this did a good job of capturing the music of 2018, not necessarily the 1975, but it felt relevant, most of the music, and it felt chosen in a, not just, they didn't just pick some random song from some random time or era or artist. It felt like they paid attention to the vibe of the song, not just necessarily the lyrics, but just the, how fun the song is for fun scenes, and it felt like some thought had gone into the selection of music. The vibe overall was just like I was saying earlier when I was talking about my personal feelings. The vibe of the movie is very, very, it's very good and very sweet and very chill. Even though there's one character named Martin I hate, and I hated that principal, and at one point I hate the main character, Simon's friends. They all, towards the end, they were all getting really selfish about some stuff that I can't really, I can't go into without spoiling what's happening. But I was just really annoyed by them, and I was kind of ready for him to dump them, but he didn't. Sort of spoiler alert, but not really. I mean, of course he doesn't. It's a comedy movie, romantic comedy. My favorite character, I haven't talked about these lately. I've just forgotten about them, but my favorite character was the drama teacher. In the movie, they're putting on the play, the musical Cabaret. And so there's lots of scenes of them like in play rehearsal, and the director, the drama teacher, her name is Mrs. Albright. She is just awesome. She's very cool. She stands up for Simon at one point when there's some less than desirable things going on. And she's funny, and she clearly does not give a shit about, stepping on anyone's toes or like, coddling anyone. She's just cool. She was good and very, very funny. She was very consistently funny. Every time she was on scene, or on screen, I would laugh. Not like at her. She shows up like, ha ha ha. But yeah, so my favorite character, like I was just saying, was Mrs. Albright. My least favorite characters were this kid, Martin, who is just a dick. He's just a dick. And the main, I think he's the antagonist of the movie. For a little while in the movie, it seems like they're trying to get us to kind of root for him. He's going through some stuff, and and I think normally maybe I would have rooted for him in these situations. There's a couple awkward things, but he was just such a dick and such a bad person that I was like, no, I can't. I'll never root for his character. Like he's just being really shitty. And not in the way that, Snape was really shitty, but it was because he'd been, heartbroken by Harry's, dad. And not that that's a good excuse. That's not. But this kid had no excuse. He was just being very selfish and rude, and it was just like, oh, I hate him. I think my favorite scene. Actually, I don't know what my favorite scene was. There were a couple that were funny. There were a couple that were. My favorite scene is actually something I can't say. It's the ending. It was cute. It was nice. That was my favorite scene. But so for my little ratings breakdown, okay, yeah. Earlier I looked and it had only been like 5 minutes, and I was like, oh my god, is this gonna be like a 6 minute review? It'll probably be like 13 minutes or so. For the writing, I gave it a 1.4 out of 2. Even though I was talking earlier about how it was fun and it was believable and I felt like it was relatable, it was still a little flat in places, and I felt like it could have just been beefed up a little bit more. As for the acting was solid. There weren't, even though this is a movie about coming out, in case I didn't say that earlier, this is a movie about coming out in high school. It felt like there weren't many scenes that were designed to give, a big, like, awards-worthy crying performance or anything like that, which I actually like. I don't need, like, high-stakes, performances in every movie. I don't think those are necessary to make a good movie. I think good movies have been made without them, and obviously good movies have been made with them, but again, just not necessary. For the directing, I gave it a 1.5 out of 2. Again, that's my starting point, and I felt like there was nothing wrong with it, but there was nothing stood out to me as being like, oh, that was good. Like, this was a good choice. This was a bad choice, though. Which is, it's good that there were no bad choices being made. For the music, I give it a 1.6 out of 2. I thought it was fun. I really only took points off just because there wasn't like an original score. But it felt like some thought had gone into the song choices of the soundtrack, and like I said, it was fun. And for the vibe overall, I gave it a 1.5 out of 2. I was worried maybe that was a little low, but I enjoyed this movie. I thought it was solid, but I wasn't I wasn't overwhelmed by this movie in any way. Although I was not underwhelmed at all. But it was solid. I thought this was just a good movie. I thought this was a good portrayal of coming out. That's obviously a very important thing in someone's life. And well, I was going to talk a little bit some about what happens in the movie, but I don't want to spoil stuff. I felt like this movie did a good job of handling coming out realistically and showing how big of a deal it was in the main character's mind versus how not big of a deal it was in everyone around him's mind. But so anyway, this was a solid movie. And my total rating, 1.4 plus 1.6 plus 1.5 plus 1.6 plus 1.5, all in a very small range. It's a total of 7.6 out of 10, and I feel like that's a fair rating. That's about what I feel about this movie. Solid, not didn't go beyond my wildest dreams, but solid and watchable. And I would watch this again. Not necessarily, I would need to wait, a year or so, but I would watch this again. But so anyway, thank you all very much for watching this. I hope I didn't go on too long. And anyway, I will see you back here tomorrow, February 11th, to review a movie that I am not aware of what it is yet. I've written it down on a list, but I don't have that list in front of me. So I will bid you adieu. Have a good night. Thank you for watching. Bye.